Well, good evening. Here to talk about a project we are constructing next year in 2022. It's on 7th Avenue. We'll pick up from where we left off back in 2016 on 7th Avenue, just east of 2nd Street. And we'll take that project all the way down to Elm Street and then also be on Oak Street from the railroad tracks going north up to 8th Avenue. So just a brief agenda, do staff introductions, talk about the project a little bit, the location, the description, the timing and duration, talk about the phasing, some details about the project that are useful for adjacent property owners to know, talk a little bit about cost and funding, and then how special assessments work for this project, and then there will be time for questions. So with us tonight, we do have Rick Larson, our project manager, Dan and Doug from our special assessments department, and then myself, Tom Knockmoose, the assistant city engineer. So as I talked about earlier, this is just a visualization of the location. So on 7th Avenue for about 2.5 blocks or so, and then on Oak Street for about 3 blocks. We are doing a full roadway reconstruction, and so when we say that, here's what we mean. We'll be replacing the water main and the water services. We'll do some spot repairs on the sanitary sewer main, and then we will replace all the sanitary sewer services from basically the main to a point behind the back of curb. We'll do some work on the storm sewer inlets and leads, reconstruct the driveway approaches up to the sidewalk, and we will replace sidewalk throughout the corridor, reconstruct the roadway with asphalt pavement, and then we will be adding a cul-de-sac on Oak Street just north of the railroad tracks. So project timing, this project is set to be bid on December 8th. We don't know a start time yet. That'll be dependent on the contractor and when they choose to start, but most likely May of 2022. Completion date will be late September of 2022. And then we'll go into phasing a little bit on this next page, but multiple phases will need to run concurrently to finish the project in time. So here's just an image of the phasing. One thing I do want to mention is that the Oak Grove neighborhood will be accessible by either 6th Avenue or 7th Avenue at all times. That is a restriction that the contractor will have to ensure. Number of phases. So phase number 1, you can see there's kind of a sub-phase 1A and 1B. All that work has to be done as part of phase 1 within 70 days. Phase 1A and 1B has 6-day duration. And then phase 2, which is south of 7th Avenue on Oak Street, has 60 days. And north of 7th Avenue on Oak Street has 60 days as well. And the reason why we do this, it just limits the duration and impact to those adjacent properties. So just some details about the project. Pedestrian access will be maintained on one side of the roadway at all times. We will have to run temporary water service in the boulevards and up to houses to maintain water service while the main is being replaced. Driveways may be widened if the widening does comply with city ordinance, and we do have forms available if anyone's interested in that. We will be installing some trees along the project, some replacement locations and some new locations. And then we do regrade and seed the boulevards. And one thing I like to mention is that once the boulevards are established to about 70%, it becomes the property owner's responsibility to take over maintenance at that point. And we do typically send out a letter once we reach that milestone. I mentioned temporary water lines. That's just what this image is showing. The yellow line kind of running adjacent to the sidewalk. That's the main of that water main system. And then there's hoses that go up to the buildings that provide temporary water. So total estimated cost of construction is $2,264,000. The city does add some engineering, admin, legal interest fees, and then we do consider some contingency. And so with all that, it brings it to about $2,853,000. And here's how that is broken down as far as how it's funded. So really about 30% of the project is funded with special assessments, and then the rest is all city funds. So a portion is wastewater, water, storm, and traffic utility fees. And then also we have street sales tax in the project. Special assessments, here's how we get to those numbers. We do follow our infrastructure funding policy. So the replacement of the water main is capped at $41.62 for most of the properties along this project. There is no assessment for sanitary sewer replacement or storm sewer or streetlights. And then both 7th Avenue and Oak Street have what's called an arterial band associated with them. And what that means is that there's some properties that see a direct benefit, other properties that see an indirect benefit. And this table here just kind of shows that. So this is special assessments associated with paving. So there's a lot going on here, but different categories in the first column. The next column is just for those local direct properties. So in that situation, you can see a single family property pays $88.43, whereas a property that's zoned downtown mixed use pays $364.14. And then there are some indirect assessments for those arterials. And you can see how those prices change based on that, that zoning and that usage. And then likewise, there's some arterial direct properties, single family arterial direct properties on the project. And those are special assessed at that $104.04. With that, we do have staff here if anyone has any questions. And here's contact information if anyone wants to follow up after tonight's meeting. Thank you.